Okay. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
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 Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
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 Krishna,
Krishna Hare 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 Rama
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
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 Krishna,
Krishna Hare
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 Hare,
Hare Rama Hare Rama
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai. Okay, we are continuing our study this Wednesday of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, Chapter 6, the deliverance of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And we are now at text 190. Before we begin, let us all offer our respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who has given us the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in so many ways, through the chanting of the holy name, through the Sankirtan movement, through the introduction of Krishna's teachings, and through this Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, as he's translated it for us, the authorized biography by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pucharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakopatarubhischa kripasinduvyeva patitanam pavanevyo vaishnavevyo namo namaha. Okay, we left off, I think, at text 191. We'll do 190 and then keep reading. Nishinga Prabhu?
Yes Prabhuji Hare Krishna নববিধ অর্থ কইল শাস্ত্র মত লয়া শুনি প্রভু কহে কিছু ঈষৎ হাসিয়া
Translation. The Bhattacharya explained the Atmaram verse in 9 different ways on the basis of scripture. After hearing his explanation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, smiling a little, began to speak. I thought it would actually be good if we, this Atmaram verse was described last week. We'll describe it a little bit more in the text coming up. Madhavi Gaurangi Mataji did. But just to refresh our memories, what this Atmaram verse is, I would like us all to be able to repeat it. It's a famous verse establishing the qualities of the self-realized souls. This comes from the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 7, text number 10. We can do this call and response. Sutta Uvacha
Shrutovacha
Atmaramascha Munayo
Atmaramascha
Atmaramasya munayo
Nirgrantha Apya Urukrame
Nirgrantha api
api urukrame
Kurvanti Ahaitu Kim Bhaktim
kuruvanti
Kurvanti
ahitukim bhaktim
Itam Bhuta Guno Hari.
Itam
nitam bhuta
Gunari.
hari.
Translation. Sutta Goswami said, all different varieties of Atmaramas, those who take pleasure in the Atma or the spirit self, especially those established on the path of self-realization, though freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotional service unto the personality of Godhead. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract everyone, including liberated souls. In this particular purport, Srila Prabhupada, he refers to this in the Caitanya Charitamrita, but in this purport, he goes into quite detail about the qualities of each of the words in this verse. And as we'll see from Lord Chaitanya, he will also, Srila Prabhupada followed in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya also gave a description of each of the verses. Purport. We're back to the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The Atmarama verse was discussed at Naimisharanya, at the meeting of many great sages, headed by Shanaka Rishi. They questioned Srila Sutta Goswami, who presided at the meeting, about why Srila Sukadeva Goswami, a Paramahamsa, already in the transcendental position, was attracted to the discussion of the qualities of Krishna. In other words, they wanted to know why Srila Sukadeva Goswami engaged in study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So from this we can understand how there is a class of philosophy of impersonalism which accepts bhakti only up to the point of getting to understand that the Bhakta and Bhagavan are one and the same. And there's no actual difference between the two. Only in the illusory state do we see differentiation. But in the topmost state of liberation, and that there's no difference between the Bhakta and Bhagavan. So this particular exchange here is going to, whether it's the questioning of this particular verse by the sages of Naimisharanya, why they inquired about this, and the same with regards to Lord Chaitanya explaining it to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, is to explain that actually the purified, these Atmaramas, the self-realized souls, they don't think this way. They don't simply just use the process of bhakti or hearing about the qualities of Krishna to be a means of purification. But even after the point of purification, they continue to relish and transcendentally enjoy the pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna and continue to engage in his service. They continue to study Srimad Bhagavatam. This doesn't take you simply just to the point of liberation. Actually, this is it's the substance which sustains the devotee's life. There is the two words. There's it's the process and is also the goal. The the sadhana and the sadhya. The first that we talked about today, they only see this group of philosophers, namely the impersonal Mayavad philosophers. They see it in terms of it's just a means to get to a higher end, but it's actually not the end itself. For factually, once we transcend this material world, the processes of karma and gyan actually get left behind. There is only bhakti, our eternal relationship with the Supreme that exists. Any questions before we move on? Text 191. I'm sorry here, I'm getting screen interference. There we go.
ভট্টাচার্য, জানি তুমি সাক্ষাৎ বৃহস্পতি, শাস্ত্র ব্যাখ্যা করিতে ওইছে কারো নাহি শক্তি।
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "My dear Bhattacharya, you are exactly like Brihaspati, the priest of the heavenly kingdom. Indeed, no one within this world has the power to explain the scriptures in such a way." So Lord Chaitanya giving some glorification to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya for his scriptural acumen, understanding his expertise. And like many of us, he was able to utilize his expertise. However, he did it in such a way that he actually felt that everything was a mental exercise. He was using his intelligence to try to understand the Supreme Lord. And as we'll find out, it didn't lead him to the point of satisfaction. He didn't become self-satisfied, Atmaram. He still remained bewildered. Because Krishna cannot be understood. He cannot be conquered by simply our own mental activities. Regardless of how smart we are, Krishna is beyond it. Krishna is transcendental. The mind is on the material platform. Our material qualifications are on the material platform. They are not transcendental. It is only due to illusion that we feel that due to some material qualification that I have, some degree that I may have, some extensive study that I may have, even a study of the scriptures, as Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya has done. The scriptures themselves are transcendental, but utilizing his mind, feeling that he has understood. That understanding actually comes from within. It can only really be sustained through the super soul. We've chanted this verse a lot in our Srimad Bhagavatam classes lately. Matasmitir Gyanam Apohanam Cha. From Krishna comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. That comes from within as the super soul. And externally, it manifests in the form of Krishna's mercy by the bona fide spiritual master. So we'll see. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu allowed Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to comment on this Atmarama verse that we just read. And he did so utilizing his great mental facility. Text 192.
কিন্তু তুমি অর্থ কইলে পাণ্ডিত্য প্রতিভায়, ইহা বই শ্লোকের আছে আরো আরো অভিপ্রায়।
My dear Bhattacharya, you have certainly explained this verse, by the prowess of your vast learning. But you should know that besides the scholarly explanation, there is another purport to this verse. How do you think this, so you can imagine Lord Chaitanya, he's speaking to somebody who's elderly in age to him, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who is the Raj Pandit, and admittedly by Lord Chaitanya also is very scripturally sound. He can quote, he can pull references from the different Upanishads and all the various different scriptures and give his understanding of it. How do you feel Lord Chaitanya's uh, interaction with him so far is? You know, I'm curious how you feel. You know, would you say that he's upholding etiquette and he is being respectful? And so you know, I think it's demonstrating that he is. I mean, he's given him a comparison to Brihaspati. He's asked him to go first in explaining the verse. At the same time, Lord Chaitanya has a mission to accomplish here. And he wants, in order to get the true meaning of this verse, and he's out to deliver Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So he offers, you know, that besides this scholarly explanation that you have given us, you know, there's another purport that he would like to now explain. So Lord Chaitanya is demonstrating the proper etiquette, but at the same time, he can't just leave it at that. He has to continue to go further for the deliverance of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Text 193.
ভট্টাচার্যের প্রার্থনাতে প্রভু ব্যাখ্যা কইল, তাঁর নব অর্থ মধ্যে এক না ছুঁইল।
Upon the request of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to explain the verse without touching upon the 9 explanations given by the Bhattacharya. 194.
আত্মা রামাস্য শ্লোকে একাদশ পদ হয়, পৃথক পৃথক কইল পদের অর্থ নিশ্চয়।
There are 11 words in the Atmarama verse, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained each word one after the other. Purport. The words in the Atmarama verse are Atmarama cha munaya nirgrantaha api urukrame kurvanti ahaitukim bhaktim itam bhuta guna and hari. If you want to dive into each of these words, as I mentioned previously, if you go to the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, Text 10, where this Atmarama verse is found in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada explains each of these words and their various meanings, just as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Text 195.
তত্তৎপদ প্রাধান্যে আত্মারাম মিলায়া অষ্টাদশ অর্থ কইল অভিপ্রায় লইয়া।
Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took each word specifically and combined it with the word Atmaram. He thus explained the word Atmaram in 18 different ways. 196.
ভগবান, তাঁর শক্তি, তাঁর গুণাগুণ, অচিন্ত প্রভাব তিনের না যায় কথন।
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his different potencies, and his transcendental qualities all have inconceivable prowess. It is not possible to explain them fully. Text 197.
অন্য যত সাধ্য সাধন করি আচ্ছাদন, এই তিনে হরে সিদ্ধ সাধকের মন।
These three items attract the mind of a perfect student engaged in spiritual activities and overcome all other processes of spiritual activity. Purport. Spiritual activities, other than bhakti yoga, are divided into three categories. Speculative activity conducted by the Jnana Sampradaya, or learned scholars. Fruitive activity conducted by the general populace according to Vedic regulations. And the activities of the transcendentalists not engaged in devotional service. There are many different branches of these categories, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his inconceivable potencies and transcendental qualities, attract the mind of the student engaged in the activities of karma, jnana, yoga, and so forth. The Supreme Lord is full of inconceivable potencies, which are related to his person, his energies, and his transcendental qualities. All these are very attractive to the serious student. Consequently, the Lord is known as Krishna, the all-attractive one. So in this purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about different categories. Starts off by the different types of transcendentalists or students looking for transcendence. He says, aside from those practicing bhakti yoga, which in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that these are the topmost yogis. These are the topmost transcendentalists. He repeats this over and over again. The end of the 6th chapter, the end of the 7th chapter, the 9th chapter, the 11th chapter, the 10th chapter, 18th chapter, and so on. Krishna really identifies that actually it's this quality of bhakti and the quality of engagement in devotional service with surrender that is dear to him. But besides that, there's those that follow the Jnana Marg, that try to understand Krishna, or maybe not Krishna, but the Supreme Person, the Supreme Being, through the process of scholarly learning, study of the scripture, and their mental speculation. Then there's the Karma Marg, the Marg of Karma, Karma Kanda, Karma, and that is following the injunctions of the Vedas in order to live a better life, how to find peace and prosperity here on earth, as well as promote one to a better situation at the time of death. This is for a very gradual advancement, but still following the Vedic process. And then there's the the yogis that try, due to their own strength of meditation on the super soul within, to try to elevate themselves out of this material world by seeing the equality in everything, seeing the equality within all beings, um, escaping the dualities of this world, going into the forests for meditation, and basically removing themselves from all sense gratification and just engaging in the process of meditation and absorption of the super soul. And then Srila Prabhupada explains that there's three categories which the Supreme has inconceivable potencies, which are related to his person, his energies, and his transcendental qualities. And he says these are all very attractive to the serious student. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains how, out of, thousands among, transcendentalists who are trying to find the Supreme Person, or trying to understand the absolute truth. You only get, one serious one. And out of those, you also, will find one that's actually searching after, Krishna. So for the very serious student, these qualities of Krishna, find to be attractive. Now, one of the objectives of the Krishna consciousness movement is to find these serious students, because they're out there. Krishna's qualities are attractive. They just need to be presented. They need to be made available to society at large. And sure, there are going to be people that say, you know what, I just don't have time for this. Or yes, I understand, I have my own practice. But there are serious students there, people that have the potential, that are ripe to be able to receive this message of Krishna, to understand who is God, his various energies, and that he has transcendental qualities. And as we are here learning about these, hopefully becoming inspired as we learn more about the Supreme Being, Lord Sri Krishna, especially in the mood of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, as he's trying to deliver Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. We should feel encouraged, inspired, almost feeling it as a calling that we try to awaken within society a remembrance of Krishna. So this is our calling in this verse, where Krishna's pulling us in. Srila Prabhupada's pulling us in. He's saying that we have to find these serious students so that we can present Krishna consciousness to them, and they will find it attractive. Any comments or questions on this purport before moving on? Anything? Okay. Let's continue. Text 198.
সনকাদি সুখদেব তাহাতে প্রমাণ এই মতো অর্থ করেন ব্যাখ্যান.
Translation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained the meaning of the verse by giving evidence concerning Shukadev Goswami and the four rishis, Sanaka, Sanat Kumar, Sanantana, and Sanandana. Thus the Lord gave various meanings and explanations. Purport. That Krishna is attractive is verified by the activities of the rishis, the four rishis, and Sukadeva Goswami. All of them were liberated persons, yet they were attracted by the qualities of the pastimes of the Lord. It is therefore said, Mukta api vilaya vigrahama krita bhagavantam bhajante. Even liberated persons are attracted by the pastimes of the Lord and thus engaged in devotional service. CC Madhya Lila 24, 112. From the very beginning of their lives, Shukadeva Goswami and the four Kumaras, known as the Chatusana, were liberated and self-realized on the Brahman platform. Nonetheless, they were attracted by the qualities of Krishna, and they engaged in his service. The four Kumars were attracted by the aroma of the flowers offered to the lotus feet of Krishna, and in this way they became devotees. Sukadeva Goswami heard Srimad Bhagavatam by the mercy of his father, Vyasadeva, and he was consequently attracted to Krishna and became a great devotee. The conclusion is that the transcendental bliss experienced in the service of the Lord must be superior to Brahmananda, the bliss derived from realizing the impersonal Brahman. Any questions about this? Any doubts? Anything anybody would like to share? Srila Prabhupada makes it very clear in the purport, I believe. It gives two very good examples we find in the scriptures of 5 liberated, the 4 Kumaras and Srila Sukadeva Goswami, how they were already established on the Brahman realization platform. They were already liberated from this material world. They had no attraction to material sense enjoyment. But yet they became devotees by hearing the descriptions and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And thus the conclusion of that is that the transcendental bliss experienced by serving the Lord is actually superior to that state of nasochati nakanshati, the state of having, being in peace and having no disturbance, that state of Brahmananda, that the experience of devotional service surpasses that, by the example of Srila Sukadeva Goswami and the 4 Kumars. Any questions, doubts? This is a very important point, and these are 2 important examples that we can offer if in discussing this matter with others. Okay. Text 199.
উনি ভট্টাচার্যের মনে হইল চমৎকার, প্রভুকে কৃষ্ণ জানি করে আপনাধিকার।
Upon hearing Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's explanation of the Atmaram verse, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was struck with wonder. He then understood Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu to be Krishna in person, and he thus condemned himself in the following words.
ইহত সাক্ষাৎ কৃষ্ণ, মুই না জানিয়া মহা অপরাধ কইনু গর্বিত হইয়া।
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is certainly Lord Krishna himself, because I could not understand him and was very proud of my own learning. I have committed many offenses.
আত্মনিন্দা করি লইল প্রভুর শরণ, কৃপা করিবারে তবে প্রভুর হইল মন।
When Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya denounced himself as an offender and took shelter of the Lord desired to show him mercy.
নিজ রূপ প্রভু তারে করাইল দর্শন, চতুর্ভুজ রূপ প্রভু হইলা তখন।
To show him mercy, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu allowed him to see his Vishnu form. Thus he immediately assumed 4 hands.
দেখাইল তারে আগে চতুর্ভুজ রূপ, পাছে শ্যাম বংশী মুখ স্বকীয় স্বরূপ।
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first showed him the 4-handed form and then appeared before him in his original form of Krishna with a blackish complexion and a flute to his lips. Yeah. If you're following along closely here, you're envisioning this conversation where Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya has become so overwhelmingly impressed by the sweetness, kindness, but also the knowledge that Lord Chaitanya has displayed, that he has surrendered to him. And he realizes, he's come to the realization that he is the supreme absolute truth. And in this, as this exchange is going on, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestows his mercy and shows Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya something that shows only a few people during his pastimes. He first shows him, you can imagine, they're sitting beside they're having a conversation, and in front of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he shows him his 4-handed form of Lord Vishnu, and then transforms that into his original form of Lord Sri Krishna, with the Sham complexion, holding a flute to his lips. Next.
দেখি সার্বভৌম দণ্ডবৎ করি পড়ি, পুনঃ উঠি স্তুতি করে দুই কর জুড়ি।
When Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya saw the form of the Lord Krishna manifested in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he immediately fell down flat to offer him obeisances. Then he stood up with folded hands and began to offer prayers.
প্রভুর কৃপায় তার স্ফুরিল সব তত্ত্ব, নাম প্রেমদান আদি বর্ণের মহত্ব।
By the mercy of the Lord, all truths were revealed to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and he could understand the importance of chanting the holy name and distributing love of Godhead everywhere. It's a very important verse. Let's repeat it again. By the mercy of the Lord, all truths were revealed to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and he could understand the importance of chanting the holy name and distributing love of Godhead everywhere. We'll do a couple more verses. and then I'll comment on this section.
শত শ্লোক কইল এক দণ্ড না যাইতে, বৃহস্পতি তৈছে শ্লোক না পারে করিতে।
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya composed 100 verses in a short time. Indeed, not even Brihaspati, the priest of the heavenly planets, could compose verses as quickly. Purport. The name of the book of 100 beautiful verses composed by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is Shushloka Shataka. So this can be researched. And I've seen devotees, they recite these verses as well on days like the appearance day of Lord Caitanya Gaur Purnima. 207.
শুনি সুখে প্রভু তারে কইল আলিঙ্গন, ভট্টাচার্য প্রেমাবশে হইল অচেতন।
After hearing the 100 verses, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu happily embraced Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was immediately overwhelmed in ecstatic love of Godhead and fell unconscious. If we remember the first meeting between Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what had happened? What was the state of being of both of them? What was that interaction like? You guys, anybody remember? What was Lord Chaitanya doing?
I don't know, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I
Yes.
think he was listening to Bhattacharya's verses, and he was not saying anything for 7 days.
Yes,
And
that took place right after Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya found Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But when he found Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was what was
ecstasy, he was unconscious in ecstasy when he saw the Jagannath Puri.
he was laying on the floor of the Jagannath temple. He fell unconscious in transcendental ecstasy. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he wanting to help the sannyasi, he came and he actually did a couple tests to see, if he was, still in his body, and then also to see if these were actually transcendental symptoms according to the Shastra, or was he a pretender of a person that's just trying to get attention. And he quickly understood that this was actually transcendental ecstasy that he was in, that there's certain bodily symptoms that were being displayed by him in terms of the breathing and perspiring and things that you can't fake or imitate. So now we find, after the extensive association of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, now we have Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya becomes overwhelmed in ecstatic love of Godhead. Now he falls unconscious. And this is due to the mercy, specifically the transcendental embrace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it's interesting how this has come around. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya feels he's going to actually help this young sannyasi who he feels maybe, needs some guidance, who is fallen into ecstasy, but needs actually training in the Vedic scriptures. And he had a desire to help. And that desire to help was certainly appreciated and reflected upon in their relationship. But the transformation of that relationship and the transformation of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in the days to come, now it's Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya passing out in ecstasy of love of God, falling unconscious. I wanted to comment one. So we'll end here today. This will be the last verse, 208. We'll start at 209 next week. But this verse here about the mercy of the Lord, all truths were revealed to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, that he could understand the importance of chanting the holy name and distributing love of Godhead everywhere. It's a topic that I've been reflecting upon since Vyasa Puja, about how we can fall into this illusion to think that our efforts are what gives us spiritual realization. And this is a material frame of consciousness. Because in the material world, we have to earn everything that we achieve. You're a big business owner, you've earned a lot of money, you're proud about your accomplishments, you have degrees from prestigious universities, an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, an MBA. We become very proud of these things. We get recognition and glorification in society, with family members, sometimes even in our spiritual circles. Then we utilize our resources, sometimes our wealth, sometimes our intellectual acumen, to be able to serve the Lord, whether it's through study of the scriptures, giving classes, giving big donations, or working very hard for the Lord, distributing books for the Lord. And there can be this tendency to think that I am doing this. I am the deliverer of myself. I'm following the process of bhakti, but in following the process of bhakti, I am doing this. These results that are coming about because I am the doer. And this can lead to a very big misunderstanding that the Lord's mercy, that I am controlling the Lord's mercy. And this is, again, the material consciousness that sometimes we carry over into spiritual life. I'm going to be delivered. I'm going to back to Godhead because I have worked so hard. I have given so much. I have taken Bhakti Vaibhava. I know this many shlokas. I've given this much Lakshmi. It is because I have given. But when we study very carefully and we hear these words like this message today, by the mercy of the Lord, all truths were revealed. And therefore he could understand the importance of chanting the holy name. The holy name is our deliverer. Spiritual master comes to give us the holy name. That is our deliverer. We are not our deliverers. We are not our own deliverers. But sometimes we become so impressed with our own material accomplishments, degrees, money, fame, name, and people reinforce that around us, that we begin to believe that we are our deliverers and that we're delivering others. It's the holy name, who is none different than Krishna himself, given to us in parampara by the spiritual masters, these Atmaramas. That is our deliverers. It is not I, it is the holy name. It is the spiritual master. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one can achieve pure devotional service. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from their lotus mouth. The attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. So let us remember this. And this is a foundational philosophical question that we often forget about. Our sadhana that we perform, our service that we do, this is for our purification, for our benefit. And in doing so, it demonstrates to Krishna that we are serious about having a relationship with Krishna. But our sadhana is not strong enough to deliver us. We simply want to attract the mercy of the Lord, which is actually the deliverer of the soul in this world. With that, I'll conclude to here. If there's any questions, comments, thoughts on that particular topic or anything we read today or discussed, we can share that now. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
So when someone is, definitely it's the holy name that delivers us if we are fortunate enough. Now, how do you go about, in practicality, how do you distinguish between I am not the doer, the holy name is, at the same time I have to get myself up and do it and do something about it. So am I making sense?
Yeah. Well, we have to, I mean, there's the obvious component of our effort, right? So we have to, that is the part that we're in control of, is the effort. The danger is when we think that our effort is strong enough to actually deliver us from this material world. And this is why it's called causeless mercy. When we hear this term causeless, it evokes, our effort can evoke, because Krishna is a person, so it can evoke a remembrance, or it can evoke, and that comes from Krishna, it can evoke Krishna's mercy. But it's Krishna's mercy that's actually delivering us. It is not our achievements that actually delivers us. I spoke with His Grace Adi Gadadhar Prabhu a little bit about this on Sunday, and he was referring to a conversation he had, or a lecture that he remembered by Radhanath Maharaj, and it comes back, to the Damodar Leela of the two fingers of Mother Yashoda's effort and the mercy given to her by Lord Damodar. This, we always came up with the two fingers too short. And in that he said 99% of these two fingers is our effort, because we have to put in We have to give everything that we have. But that 1% of Krishna's mercy, far outweighs and is so much larger. That 1% is so much larger than that 99%, in the sense that it cannot be measured. It cannot be achieved. So we just have to be very careful in our it's our consciousness, and it comes also out in our communication, our behavior, our sadachar. I'm a product of mercy. If there's any good qualities a person sees in me, it's a product of mercy. If I am to go back to Godhead, it is only because I have been saved by the holy name, by the spiritual mastery. It is not because I am such a great devotee, because I have executed this sadhana, because I have distributed so many books, because I have. And our false ego wants to attach ourselves to this. It's hard for the false ego to accept this, because everything that we've been taught in life is that these I haves, these things that I have acquired, these things that have actually gotten me good job interviews. They've gotten me, money. They've gotten me the things that I've wanted in life. So we think, okay, I just apply that to spiritual life, and I'm going to become a liberated person. I'll go back home, back to Godhead. We forget it's Krishna's mercy. Because the danger that comes from these I haves, it's because of me. There are two parts to it. One is we'll eventually fall into despair, because we realize that no matter how much money I have, no matter how many, Bhakti Shastri degrees I may have, no matter how many books I've distributed, without the mercy of Krishna, I won't have any taste, and I'll recognize my own limitation eventually, that I'm just not strong enough to overcome this material world. The other one is that we'll live in a state of arrogance. So this despair and arrogance will overcome us. And it is actually the holy name and the process of devotional service given to us by the bona fide teacher, bona fide spiritual master, that can deliver us from both of these conditions. Despair, depression. No matter how hard I try, I just can't do it. Because you haven't accepted the mercy of the Lord. Well, I'm trying and I'm trying and I'm trying. I'm not getting the results. Have you surrendered to the Lord? No, but I'm trying. It's about me. Let yourself accept the mercy of Krishna. Let Krishna be your deliverer. Don't try to be your own deliverer. Regardless of your faults, regardless of your shortcomings. You got to think about it from Krishna's perspective, how fallen we truly are. An example, of the, little kid pretending that he's a cop and walking around with a play gun and a plastic badge on his, and he's thinking he's the sheriff, and everybody's looking at him, oh, that's really cute. When we think that we're our deliverer, you can only think about what Krishna's looking down and saying, you've missed it. You've missed the mercy The mercy is there. And the other part of the arrogance, where we just feel like, we are in control. And then the tendency to want to kind of control others as well. So it's something to contemplate on, reflect upon, just how that we are products, our spiritual lives are products of the mercy of the Supreme Lord coming to us, manifested in the form of the holy name and Vaishnava association, specifically through the medium of the spiritual master. Okay, I will, I'll stop there. I hope that answers does that help, Sita Devi? Jasi?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you. That basically the effort is what my question was like. So you definitely clarified it. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah. We serve as if everything is dependent upon us, but we have to pray with the understanding that everything is dependent upon the Lord. So if we don't act as if that consciousness, everything's dependent on us, you're right, we won't get up. We'll just think that it's given, that we don't have to perform anything. But actually, everything is being carried by the mercy of the Lord. And we want to attract that mercy through our devotional service. We want to get the attention of Krishna. I'm trying down here. Regardless of my imperfect efforts, I'm trying. And I'm going to try to continue to evoke your mercy. But I'm more concerned about your pleasure. I want to serve you. Okay. Any last comments or questions? Thank you very much. Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Caitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyacha patitanam
Nam
pavanebhyo
Pavanebhyo,
Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.